Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome back to the Art of Badassery. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and you're in for such a treat today. I have a super cool guest. Her name is Pei-I Yang. She grew up in Taiwan, and now she lives in Scotland. She has a beautiful story to tell, but I'm going to invite her to share the juicy bits. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mahara, for having me and reintroducing myself. I always found this really difficult, but I think I'm going to give it a try. So my name is Pei. I am a parenting consultant and teen expert at a Rainbow Parenting Practice, which is, I founded the practice last year, but for my entire life, I was that little girl who was called to not be able to mount to anything, where I grew up to a very successful entrepreneur and then also a practitioner, working with children and families. So I really love to share my story with everyone or your audience. And I think one thing really important for me for people to know about me is I work with families and teens with challenging behavior that nobody is able to help. So they come to me when they were in desperation, where they were about to at breaking point or reaching crisis. And I have families who work with professionals for 10 years, still have no results. But when they come to me, everything is resolved.
Oh, I love that. Let's go back though, because, I'm curious about your childhood when you felt that, or you were told that you were never going to amount to anything. What was the turning point when you said, I'm going to show you? Because I'm assuming you did, because here you are.
I think it was pretty late in my life, I have to say. And growing up in an Asia culture in my era, that was a different time. Like the society really had a lot of expectation for children in terms like you need to achieve academically and you need to have a good job. You need to be able to have a good job to provide for your family, because there's no social welfare system back then. So then it's all about being a doctor, being a solicitor, being a psychiatrist, being really high achieving professionals. And I wasn't that we got out. I was so academically behind, and I was always the youngest in the class because my mom registered me a year earlier. So then I was always like, and then I was really struggling throughout my academic year. Seriously, I think it's only when I get to my university life, it changed my whole perception of myself, because I met some really amazing professors, and I went to a Christian school, a Christian university, actually back in Taiwan. And the reason I went there because I had no school to go to, Mahara. We have to sit exams to go to university, and I was that strict. My grade was so bad, I had no class to go, no university to go to but that Christian school. So I went and studied for 4 years, but that's where I started to found myself and going like, actually, there are people here actually believe in me. And I was really thriving in that environment. And then we had to speak English. It's American school. So we had to learn to speak English and all these things. And then I was like, this is great. I can do this. And that's when I started to think I don't need to be that child who was called to never amount anything, because someone sees something in me. And that's where I started to think, yeah, I could do something about my life. But then there's another journey right after my university life. But that is a starting point, that somebody believed in me. Somebody gave me the confidence and trust and belief. Like, you know what, we lastly can do something. So
that is a beautiful story. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because sometimes I think we forget how powerful it is when someone believes in us, even if it's somebody you don't know necessarily at the beginning, right? So the fact that you had this in university, perhaps a little bit later, the transformation, the aha, a little bit later than others, doesn't really matter, because look what a difference it's made. I'm curious though, What was the reaction of your family and your friends and your intimate circle as they watched this young woman blossom?
I think my family is really proud of me, and actually I was the first person in my family, the entire my dad's side and my mom's side, to actually go to university and have a master. I'm actually working on my fourth one. So thinking about, yeah, I'm about to be finished with my family therapy training this year. So from a child who was academically behind to having the fourth master's, that is amazing. They're really proud of me. They're thinking, oh my God, what happened to my weak girl who's doing so well? And yeah, and I feel really proud. I will be able to make my family proud and my friends as well. They're like, what happened to this woman, that was always shy, this girl who was so shy, who never had many friends and who was always in her little bubble, and then all the same to this woman who can actually speak in public, deliver training to professionals, helping families where nobody can, and being so confident. So I think they definitely watch me grow in this journey, but my journey doesn't come alone just because of me. I have a lot of amazing support, people around me and carry me through this journey when I was at my lowest point. So it is really a collective effort that I am the way I am today. Mm.
That's such a great thing to point out. And, there's a lot of cultures that recognize that it's the entire community that raises a child.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not going to, it doesn't matter. I think many cultures feel that way. And it's one that we have often, I think, in our society, Western civilization in the last, few hundred years have really moved away from. But what you've described is a beautiful example of that. Regardless, like, and time wise doesn't matter. There's still a group of people that are supporting you. You mentioned at my lowest point.
Mm-mm.
Was that in university, just before university? Would you mind taking us there just so we can get an idea of how you were feeling before the transformation?
So I think at my lowest point was when I finished my university. Actually, it's during my university where there were so many good things happen in my university life. My family actually went through bankruptcy. My father's business were like his money was stolen and he was left with a lot of money by his business partner and all these things. So at the age of 18, while I was still trying to thrive and get to know who I was as a person, as a young person, I already had to start making money. And back in that era, I have to explain, back in the era in Taiwan, for an 18-year-old to be making money is very unusual, right? You don't do that because parents provide money for you. So I was started to work in and all these things. And there are times I actually have to think twice if I can buy a 10 pence chocolate bar. And that was really a lowest point in my life. But I met so many amazing people. I was teaching English back then already. I have so many high achieving parents because I was educating their kids English. They would buy me clothes. And throughout this 10 years period I was teaching in Taiwan, by the time I actually moved to Scotland to study, some people have given me the airplane tickets, some people bought me a laptop, some people buy me clothes, give me money to send me off to Scotland to purchase to pursue my education. So these 10 years of struggle, those families, the people I've served, have helped me as well. So I would say that was probably the lowest point of my life and my family's life. Is we're struggling so much financially and there's a lot of judgment. So, but we came through. We're good.
Hello, you came through with flying colors. You know what I really liked about your story? Because what I heard was, despite the struggle,
Yeah.
I believed so much that others believed in me.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's badass, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy to do because, to your point, there is a lot of judgment around scarcity and money
Mm-hmm.
and prestige and education. I mean, we're human beings. We've got judgments about everything. And I really love the picture that you're painting, that despite the pressure, the oddity, the fear, all of that stuff, you still managed to step up and step into what you were good at the time and make a
Mm-hmm.
change in people's lives. And these people, they reciprocated by being very generous and loving. And what a great story.
Absolutely. I am still so grateful for these families I've worked with, and I'm still in contact with them in Taiwan. And their children all grew up, right? Some of them universities, some of them are having family already, but that's only because I started teaching them at the age of 18 or 17, right? But that was great. I was like, oh, you guys are like 26, 8 now. I was like, it's amazing. I love that. And then life in Scotland is the same. It was a struggle to start with new job. You know, when I was studying, oh, that's another story. Can I share that story, Mahara?
Please. Yeah.
So, like, you know, all these families send me off to Scotland to study my art therapy course, right? The master. I want to be an art therapist back then. And it's really my whole life saving. I saved like so much where I was still paying off my debts. And then I moved to Scotland a year later, only to find out I was failed. Um, I was kicked out of the course. I was so devastated. Seriously, I spent probably about £10,000, right? Not on the course itself, not along with other additional cost. So I was failed on the course. I was kicked out. I was devastated. I was so upset. Like all the expectation, all the hopes, and all the the support I had, and all the expectation I had for myself went down the drain just by one essay. So I was kicked. Yeah, I failed one essay. I was kicked out and was so upset. I was just like, life is terrible. I couldn't cope anymore. Blah blah blah. But then again, amazing support picked me up, and the universe really had its way. I mean, I'm Christian. I believe in God. He was saying to me, "This is not your path. Your path is something else." So then I went on to another course, which that was my first master, is doing the child development side of things, and I just thrive from there. So yeah.
Oh, I just want to make sure I've got this, I'm understanding, because there's a beautiful lesson in there that I want to make sure our listeners hear.
Mm-hmm.
You went to Scotland to do art therapy.
Yep.
And you had saved thousands of pounds for the experience and also had support from families and friends, whatever. You're in Scotland, you're doing this art therapy course.
Yep.
And with one essay that you failed, you were
Yep.
kicked out of the course and you're back to ground zero.
Yep. So I didn't get my qualification whatsoever.
No, but what I'm hearing is that something in you said it's okay. You listened to the universe,
Yep.
as I happen to believe,
Mm-hmm.
and you were open to another direction.
Yep.
How long did it take for you to do that? Because to me, what we've just described is
Mm-hmm.
the crux of so many of our challenges is
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work out the way we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking from experienced people. And I get really annoyed. Like I'm determined that I'm going to be X, or I'm determined I'm going to do this
Mm-hmm.
to get to there. And the universe has a completely different idea. And I'm so determined that I be right. And I don't, it takes me a while to let go. My question is, how long did it take you to surrender?
2 weeks.
Okay, see, she did 2 weeks. She knew exactly where I was going with this. Only 2 weeks?
I had no time, Mahara, because the course was already start. They put me on another course, right? They say, we failed you on art therapy, but you can go through this course. So they put me on another course. I sat in the first lecture and I was crying. I just couldn't stop crying. I was like, this is not what I was here for. I'm not here to learn about art management, right? I was like, this is terrible. So then I was really blessed to have a friend who was also in the same situation as I was. And he's like, there's this course in Edinburgh University. They have an open day. We can go and speak to them. I seriously dashed as soon as he said, there's this course. So we left to go to Edinburgh University, and we managed to speak to the course director. And she was telling us, like, we would love to have you, but the closing date has closed. So she doesn't really know if the graduate admission office will accept us. But I say, over this weekend, I still remember that was a Friday. Say, over this weekend, send me all your information, all your application, your certificates, your everything, and I will send this over to the graduate office. And I phoned my mom straight away. I was like, get this done over this weekend, and we got that. So we sent it over on a Sunday, and I remember I heard back on the Monday afternoon, and she told me, you've been accepted, but there's a few things to catch up. And that's when I go, right, I am doing this. God has already opened another door for me. And then I still didn't have enough money, because I was like, I don't have money to do this course. But then again, my family, friends, and have helped me through that journey. So I was able to finish my master and live in Scotland. I was also working in ice cream kiosks to make money. So I survived, and I was really happy on the course. Mm-hmm.
So such an inspiring story. And,
truthfully, you're quite young at this time. I mean, I'm in my late 50s, and I can appreciate how much courage it took to not only ask for help, but to trust in the universe or God,
Mhm.
spirit, source, whatever word resonates with you. I'm telling you, folks, that takes courage, right? And for you to have that at such a young age is really remarkable. So, okay, let's move forward a little bit.
Mhm.
You got your degree in what was the first one that your first master's that you have?
It's childhood studies, so it's about child development and a psychology side of things and social study side of things.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, Very fascinating topic. I'm a parent, hardest job I've ever done,
Mhm.
most amazing job I've ever been given. But I see the need. And I'm wondering what, if anything, came as a surprise to you, like, oh my God, I didn't realize this was such a problem, or I hadn't realized that this existed on such a level. I'm just curious when you started studying this, what were some of the ahas for you?
Well, I suppose because of my experience of being in school and how I was educated, I hated that. I hated how I wasn't treated as a person, and I'm seen as an academic person. So my first part-time job to help my family pay off the debt is to become a teacher, and I did just that. I was like, I am not ever gonna treat my kids the way I was treated. My relationship with them trump over everything. So I had a really good relationship with all my kids when I was teaching at the time, but only when I went on this course, I was like, huh? So everything I was doing, there's a psychology behind it, but I didn't know, right? Because I didn't study psychology back then and the child development side of things. I just go with my gut, go with what I think is the right thing to do and how I get connected with the children. So when I went on that course, I was like, okay, so everything I did, there's actually a theory to back this up. So I wasn't doing something random. So that became really powerful for me because I already got the experience side of things and now I got the theory side of things. So it became a really powerful tool for me to support and help family. And that was my first aha moment thinking, I can do this and I love doing this. And that's why I went to do art therapy in the first place, is I want to look at the psychological side of things to help children, to thrive, to know actually you can have your voice. Because I didn't have a voice when I was a child, and I wanted to heal that part of me through working with other children, and which is another side. It's another
That's
story I'll
another
tell.
story.
Yeah.
But what I think is so special, and I have to call it out, is the recognition that we are on the right path. Because when we instinctively know something or an act on it, to me, that's like, wow, you really are connected with your authentic side. You authentically recognize what your strengths are. You're trusting your gut instinct. And so it's just a great story because so many of us, I think, and guys listening, feel free to drop comments, but see if you agree with this. So many of us pretend and ignore our intuition because of what we were told. You need to be this, you need to be that, you need to, like you said, you need to be a doctor, a lawyer, or, something of that genre. But when we take a breath and listen to our intuition, we actually do know the answers. And some of us have developed our intuition stronger
Mhm.
than others. Some of us, we have it straight from the womb and we've never let go. We've always listened to it, which is great. But this is just an example. So peeps, listening, when you figure out that you know something intuitively, that's a sign. Go with it. Go with it. It's part of being badass, right? Trusting your intuition.
Mhm.
So beautiful. Okay, so you got your first master's. You're working with children. What age children typically did you work with at that time, or is it the same now?
Well, it's pretty much from 0 to 18 back then, but mainly, I mean, it's in various setting, but mainly primary age children, and there occasionally will be teenagers. And it's all children who are on child protection, who experience abuse, neglect, trauma, parental, domestic violence, also all the life adversaries you can think of. I have had the privilege to work with. And for the past 10, 11 years, I started to focus in on teenagers.
All I can think of as you're talking about this is my heart is kind of aching. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
parent and I feel so fortunate. But what you've described takes a special skill, I think, to not be flattened by the pain. And I'm wondering if you could talk about that for a little bit, because just listening to you, I can feel a heaviness in my heart, like a sadness. I am not meant to work in that area. Like I can just tell because it feels heavy. But how did you, or how do you navigate between, the work and the empathy, or or how the two sides of that, because it takes a special person.
It was really hard to begin with, but I think I am so connected with the children's needs and the parents' needs, and you kind of become part of them, but then you're not really them. But I really struggled to begin with. I was like, I can't do this. Like, hearing children telling you they have been abused, or mom has been battered by their partner, or they have another psychotic episode, it really breaks your heart. And I think having good support is really important, because in the end of the day, you need to think about, I always remember this, right? When I was working in a hospital as a clinical, as my placement, my supervisor always tell me, and I still remember this day, it has helped me till this day, is you are a washing machine, Pei-I. Washing machine, washing machine. That's what she said to me. You have to imagine yourself as a washing machine. You dry clothes, you don't soak water in and stay wet, right? So I was like, that makes me think, right, so all the emotional side of things, I need to let it go and have a place it to go. And it does take time to work that through, because sometimes I remember I was working with this 5-year-old, and it's only after, when she was giving me feedback, she said, she wrote something like, I'm so grateful for Pei to come and visit me so I can sleep at night, so I have food to eat. And that really, just like, oh my God. But at the same time, you knew you have done something wonderful for this young person that she really needed at the time. But it's not easy. It's still not easy. I could be at 2 o'clock walk up thinking, right, that family, or like walking my dog thinking, all right, I need to speak to his family about this. So they're constantly with me, but I also learn to live with their emotions and their challenges and struggles. So, but you're right, it's not for everybody.
We're going to take a short break right now, but I'll be back with my guest within 60 seconds. Ladies, unlock your inner badass and transform your life with my monthly subscription workshop. For just $47 a month, you'll have exclusive access to work closely with me, Mahara Wayman, as we dive deep into all things badass, from personal development to conquering your goals. Imagine waking up every day with confidence, purpose, and a smile that radiates your newfound strength. Take advantage of this badass opportunity and join us today at www.mindfulnesswithmahara.com and start your journey toward a happier, more confident you. Smile when no one is looking. You've earned it.
But I think, what I'm hearing, which is so powerful, is number one, it's possible to do hard things.
Yep.
And that is, that's another component of being a badass, is recognizing that you can do hard things. What I also heard was a recognition that you can empathize, appreciate, all of that. You can have that spectrum of emotions, but you don't have to live there. So you can see it, feel it, recognize it, and then step away from it and go, okay, I'm here for a reason. How can I help this? And not allow yourself to be drowning in this. But it does take a special person. I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of the children and families that you've helped, because I know how important it is that these children have a voice. I said to someone the other day, I was telling them that when I raised, my kids are 20 today, my youngest turns 20 and almost 25. And I had a very upper middle class upbringing, happy, healthy, very fortunate. And I still struggled to keep my cool as a parent, because, children can be very tough. And I remember saying to them, screaming at them actually, count your lucky stars mommy doesn't drink or do drugs, because if I did, boy, you'd be in trouble, like you'd be hurting now. And while I said it in jest, I kind of didn't, because I recognized in that moment that this is hard. When you are exhausted. I mean, we had food on the table, beautiful house, beautiful family, and I still felt at the end of my rope trying to navigate a day with these young children. And I've never forgotten screaming that at them. And of course, my children were like, yeah, mom, whatever. Right. Yeah. Bye, mom. But but it really did help, being a parent has really opened up my eyes to the fragility of life.
Absolutely. And it's really the most admirable profession ever, you know?
Yeah, to be a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit.
Mm.
You have been in Scotland for 27 years?
Actually, 20 years, I think, coming to
20?
20. Mm-mm.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so you've been there for 20 years. By the way, I love that a couple of your words have that Scottish accent.
I try not to speak Scottish because I worry people won't understand me. So,
I love it. I love it. So you have been in Scotland for over 20 years. Let's talk about what you're doing now, because you mentioned that last October you established your own parenting practice. Let's talk about that and how I'd love to know some key moments in the
mm-hmm.
decision to open
Yeah.
that practice and
Mm-hmm.
something that may have happened once you've opened it.
Well, before I opened my practice, I actually had been working with teenagers, with the most vulnerable teenagers across the city. And they were at risk of being accommodated, really, because of their antisocial behavior. They could be really aggressive, they could be taking drugs, they could be running drugs and associated with gangs, sexual exploitation, or exploitation in general. So that's what I was doing. And I really loved my job, and I never thought about I would love working with teenagers. When I first got this job, I was like, is this the right job? Why am I with teenagers? I'm not sure. But then throughout this journey, it's fascinating, Mahara, because I love working with them. They're so funny. And then I realized actually the reason I connected with them so much is because I was that teenager myself. I was rebellious. I didn't get along with my parents. I didn't want to speak to them. I didn't want to go traveling with them. Even they say, let's go to America. I'm like, no, so you just don't want to do that part. So then I reminded of myself, like part of my life. I was like, right, that's why I connected so well with them. And then because the demographic that I work with is really, really like it's polar opposite. There could be families on benefits, there could be meaning celebrity family, politicians, or psychiatrists, are really high achieving families. But I found myself connected really, really well with those high achieving families because they are the ones that professionals don't want to work with. And no offense to those professionals, because these families are really intelligent. They know what they want, and you need to be ready to have an answer for them to be able to work through things with them, right? And then I love that challenge. I love when they throw a thing at me, go, so how do you explain this, Pei? Right? My teenagers like this. You tell me the answer. I'm like, great. I love these things. I really thrive in this. And then I think when you come to, and you mentioned I'm really not young anymore, Mahara. I'm about to be 50 years old very soon. And then I was like, right, I'm about at the point, I did go through midlife crisis. And while I was working with my job, managing all the service and everything, I was just like, do I really want to live like this till the day I die? Right? I love what I did, but there's something was missing. I feel like I need to do this on my own. I want to do it my way and a better way that is fit into my value, my ethos. Because when you're working for organizations or whatever that is, they have their own games to play. And then I always remember someone told me, if you don't like their games, you leave. Then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make up my own game and I can have my own role, do it my way, that I serve the family the best I can. So I decided I take a plunge. I was just like, I need to leave. And I did without like any money or saving whatsoever. I was like, I'm going. And I did last year.
Crazy brave. Crazy,
Yeah,
crazy brave. I love that. So you now have your own business.
I do. And I love it. I love every minute of it. It's not easy because like people don't know who I am. I was popular and well respected in that professional life. But being a business person yourself, it's a new world for me. I have to reestablish who I am with people, introduce myself to people, who I am and what I can do. So that has been a journey for me, but I love every minute of it. When I wake up, I think about the families I work with or the families I can serve or who I can serve, tomorrow and today. So I love it.
I want to go back to just because you said something that I can really relate to, which was this fear of, wow, this is a whole new ball game for me.
Yeah.
You've spent years in academia, you've spent years in one way, in one mold, and now you're creating your own mold. I'm curious though, if what came up for you that you had to deal with, because that again is a sign of being a badass, is when you are willing to deal with the stories that come up. So was anything like, was it imposter syndrome? Was it like, I don't know. You tell me what came up for you that makes you say this was hard?
I suppose it's the heart is, am I doing the right thing here? You know, am I writing the right message to the families I want to speak to? What if this is a bad decision because I left a very high paid job to zero income? And then I have 7 pets to feed, and my husband is helping too. But there's a lot of financial implication. So then you do have those moments: is, have I made the right decision here to have my own business and serve the families the way I want to, or I should have stuck in that mold and get paid really well and then just in my comfort zone. But I have never regretted my decision ever, Mahara. I regretted I didn't do it earlier. Right? That's my decision. That's where I'm on reflection. Well, it's hard. And what was hard is that fear. You keep going back to the fear of the lack. What if the money didn't come in this month? What if the money didn't, I didn't have anything to pay for the bill? But then it's a process for me. Now I'm in a place. Sometimes I will still have my moments thinking, where's my next client coming in? Right. But then now I think about my success is not quantified by the money I make, but it's by how many families I serve today. And I know there are a lot of families reading my posts, reading every single email I send them, because you know how they can look at the statistics. And when I see those families consistently read every single email I've sent it to them, for me, that is a success for me. So it's these moments I start to have to retrain my brain. Your success is not coming from money, it's coming from how many people have you served. And those family who are ready to come to see me, they will show up at the time they need to. So that was it.
Okay, can I just say amen?
Yeah.
Okay, amen. But it's interesting because I understand exactly what you're saying, and I understand the fear. And for those of you listening, the fear can show up in lots of different ways. It can show up in anger. You just get pissed off at your partner or you yell at your kids. It can show up as somatically in your gut, like just a wrenching, and your bowels just go like this, and you start to sweat. There's lots of different ways. But what I say to my clients and to myself is, it's coming up for a reason. Don't be afraid of it, because first of all, the body remembers everything, right? So if you're feeling something in your body somatically, just say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, universe, because I'm going to listen now, and take a moment to sit quietly. But then I think the next step really is to ask yourself, am I willing to have this experience, even if it's uncomfortable? And, hopefully you'll say yes. If you say no, then there's a reason for that too. And, don't be too hard on yourself. But as an entrepreneur, man, oh man, there are days, because I'm a new entrepreneur as well. And I also go, where's my next client coming from? And what I think is so amazing is how easy it can be to separate yourself from all the amazing things that you've done and just focus on what's not there. There isn't, the bank account doesn't look the way I want it to, or the way I need it to, need in quotation marks. And then something will happen. Typically after I ask for help, I often, in the morning when I do my meditation, I always ask for support and guidance. And then something will happen to remind me, just like you said, of all the amazing work that we're doing. And our success is not about the bank account. If we make success about outside material things, we are always chasing that. If we let that go and recognize that success is within, and we have everything we need, we are connected to source, if we allow ourselves, then it just becomes very easy. But it's hard because we live in a material world. Bills have to be paid, all of that stuff. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's very honest of you. And really, for those of you listening, you are not alone. We're here to tell you that we know that you're not alone, but it is possible to navigate the challenges of entrepreneurship, or even just the challenges of life. Because let's be honest, sometimes it can be really tough, especially as a parent. So your business has been open for almost a year. What's the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself? Brand new learning.
About myself is I don't trust myself enough.
Oh, okay. Hello. That came as a surprise. What do you mean by that?
Right. I am so, I know this is weird, isn't it? It just came out of my mouth, right? That must be true. I suppose it's because entrepreneurship is so new to me, but I'm really good at supporting families. And when, like, even the hardest, the most challenging family, or the challenges thing they're going through, I will be able to laser eye go, right, here's the problem, we can address this, here's a good thing, we can look at this. But when it comes to my own business, I feel like I'm totally like a dummy, like a 5-year-old. So then I'm really scared to make decisions like, oh, do I hire this person to do this, or do I do this myself? Or am I, doing my website right? Am I, on the right social media platform, or am I right, in going on buying this course? And I invested a lot of money on coaching, by the way, Mahara, because that's one thing that I will try to do. I'll just invest. So then I know I am best placed to run my business and support my families. But that, because being so new, I was not sure, and I don't trust myself enough to make the right decision about my business. Isn't it funny? Then I get really frustrated when things don't turn out the way they should have. Then I'll come back to myself, like, I should have listened to myself, right? And this keep repeating itself until now I'm like, you are listening to yourself. If you don't know what to do, you wait till the answer comes to you. And I tell my friends who knows about me, I speak to them, I say, if I'm telling you about something and I'm going to make a decision, you'll always come back to me and say, are you sure? Is this the answer you are looking for? So they will have some scripts to come back to me to remind me, actually give you more time. It's not an impulsive decision, or, it's like, emotional decision. So that has been really helpful. But now that was the thing I learned about my entrepreneurship and about myself, is I don't trust myself enough when it comes to my business.
Wow. Thank you for your honesty. And I love it when guests say, wow, I didn't know I was going to say that. That tells me I asked a great question, which is my superpower. And I think it's so important that we give ourselves a break. And I'm telling you, I'm in the same boat. I'm a new entrepreneur. And one thing that comes to me quite often as a memory, when I worked for a global health and wellness company, I learned a really beautiful trick as a facilitator, which was, if I didn't know where to go next in a group coaching session, for example, somebody said something and I'm like, I don't even know how to connect that to the topic, for example, I would just invite them to tell me more. And what I heard in that was that you were actually, what you've learned is to give yourself time to come up with more feelings, more questions, more investigation. Because when we give ourselves permission to learn, be, sit, feel, investigate, we come up with the answer. And that's that. It's an exercise of trusting, learning to trust yourself, and learning to limit the judgments. I don't know about you, but I can be very judgmental about my business. Oh my God, I should be making more now. I should have more clients. I shouldn't have, should, there's lots of shoulds. And I recognized I'm a certified mastery method coach. And when we came to the module on judgments, I was blown away, because in my naivete, in my obnoxiousness, I don't even know what word I would use, I just didn't realize how judgmental I was, because I kept thinking, I'm a nice, easygoing person. I got lots of friends, got a great family. And then when I, got into this module, and I realized that judgments, not only for others, friends, family, partner, husband, but really judgments on myself were really hurting me. Judgments don't serve, they don't help, guys. We create them for a reason. We create them to protect ourselves, but often we hang on to them long past when we need them. And that's a big lesson for me. So learning how to be judgment free and or to just sit and come up with more has really been helpful for me. I mean, it helped me as a facilitator for group coaching, because when I invited people to tell me more, they actually had to think, and then we got to where we needed to go.
Excellent.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I think, like, Mahara, I can resonate with that. I think it's a shared experience. It's a universal shared experience, that judgment of ourselves and the voice that your cultural or your family, that the should, you're 15 years old, you should have done this. You're 30, you should be married by now, right? Or you're 40, you should have children by now. I'm like, who say so? So it's this is all compound as to why we have that judgment for ourselves. But I love the lesson you learn is to be kind to yourself, and let the universe speak to you.
Exactly. And one of the easiest ways, and I say this to clients quite often, is I challenge you this week, write down all the times that you've said a should, full sentence, I should have gotten up earlier, I should have aced the test, whatever it is, and then change it to could. And tell me how you feel differently in your body from one sentence to the other. I should have gotten that raise versus I could have gotten the raise, but instead I got a sideways promotion that I actually like better. Or whatever the case may be. And it's incredibly powerful. And it's so funny because every time I say it and people do it, they kind of look at me cockeyed like, oh, whatever, Mahara. God. And then they come back, oh my God, that's amazing. What a difference language makes, because language has energy. I believe in the power of words. I'm a writer, and I have a whole section in one of my programs on getting to know the English language better so it serves you and doesn't, as opposed to not serving you. So anyway, I got a little bit sidetracked there on the beauty of the English language, but very, very nice. Okay, let's talk about where you are absolutely today. What's going on in your world today? And why are you a badass?
Well, I'm not doing much today. Today is my recovery day. So I'm just spending time with my husband, my dogs, and my dad is visiting me just now from Taiwan. Nice. So it's really nice to have the two men I love the most in the world being with me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and then my 7 pets, just spending time with them. What else did you ask me? I already forgot the question.
I asked you, why are you badass? And of course, okay,
my badass.
I know why you're badass. And I'm sure our listeners have already figured out that you're badass. But I always ask, or I'm very curious why you feel that you're a badass.
I think I'm a badass because I don't have the worst life ever comparing to a lot of people. In many ways, I still found myself really blessed in so many different ways. And this life hardship or adversaries, I feel like they are my superpower because I use them as my superpower to help people, to help families, because of what I went through. And I should remember. See, I should remember this better. I've already done it. I already judged myself. I should have done it. This, like in the Bible, it said, because you are comfort, you can comfort because you've been comforted. Right. And because I've been in that place and I've been comforted, so I can use that power to comfort other families who are really struggling. So I think my life challenges has really become my superpower to be able to serve families. And that's why I'm a badass. I got knocked down, but I can back up straight away and then down, up, down, and up, and up and down, up and down, up and down. And I will continue to be up and down. Right. And
that's real life. I love it. And you know what? You are badass, because part of being a badass really is when you recognize who you are, you're not afraid to, quote, fail. You get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. I think that's a beautiful description of being a badass. And oh my gosh, holy hell, you are. If I ever make it to Scotland, I'm going to come and hang with you. And
my husband wants to go to Canada.
Oh, does he?
Oh, he does. He's like, let's move to Canada. I'm like, no.
It's a beautiful country. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really love this conversation, and I suspect that we are going to have more of them off air, just because I really connected with your story and your journey. I wish you all the best. Guys, check out the show notes, because all the different ways that you can connect with my guest will be there. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and I'll see you next week on the Art of Badassery. All the best with your business, and
thank you,
have a great day.
Having me.
Thank you for tuning in to The Art of Badassery. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insights to help unleash your inner badass. If you found this podcast helpful, please leave a rating or review on your favorite platform. Your feedback not only helps me improve the show, but it also helps others like yourself discover the podcast. Until next time, keep embracing your authenticity and living life on your terms. Here's to you.